for us to be strong in Africa, let's look at the West African sub-region, we really do need help, assistance, from wherever, and none better than from our own stock, that are outside. So, Your Excellency, what do you see as the role of the diaspora in economic revival and even integration, let's say in West Africa?
That's right, I think the diaspora is going to be very key in the ongoing African Renaissance attempts. Yes. It has always been very key. In the early days of modern statehood, our forefathers, whether it's here in Nigeria, the Nnamdi Azikiwes, the Kwame Nkrumahs, the Jomo Kenyattas, the Kamuzu Bandas, name them, the Oliver Tambos, they brought in a diaspora aspect to our nation building and development right at that time.
Yes.
And today is even more critical. It appears that we have a paradox that while we recognize the importance of the diaspora, we haven't yet put in place the appropriate mechanisms and strategies that will tap into this huge energy waiting to be exploited.
But why is that, Your Excellency?
Yeah, and my take on it is this, that it is one thing for our leaders to give policy direction, but it's also another for our public servants to be innovative and to learn to think out of the box and come out with ideas that will help to concretize what has been put on the table by the leadership. I don't seem to see much of that. And as we were talking earlier on, you recall I was telling you, one of my hobbies while serving the Ghana mission to the UN was to engage with the diaspora because they helped to inspire me the more.
Absolutely.
And what I came to notice is that when our people move out, they even become more patriotic than those of us who are back home, in many cases. Of course, I'm not trying to suggest that those who are back home are not patriotic, but there's a certain spicing to the patriotism when our people go out, whether young or elderly, diaspora. And they see the difference. They begin to appreciate their motherland even more. And they have new ideas, not just resources. The skewing now is on the resource side, that diaspora is contributing so much to our economies. But diaspora has more than material resources. They have wonderful ideas.
But they can do better than just sending remittances.
Remittances, this is it. So our governments, and specifically our public service, should help our leaders to put in place appropriate strategies and mechanisms that can help our diaspora in the diaspora, and when they come home, to engage.
Your Excellency just said something now that can help them in the diaspora, because you also need to get them to be strong so that they can be in a position to help. What about an integrated diaspora program? What I mean by that is, you could have a guy from Senegal, but what he has to offer would be more useful in Nigeria.
That's right.
So we don't say, since he's not from Nigeria, we don't need him.
Exactly.
So, and then vice versa. So you have a guy that, from Nigeria, but he has something that he can offer in Ghana. So I'm thinking at the level of ECOWAS, whether there is a way of looking to harmonize, rationalize, or whatever the word would be, to look at that kind of arrangement. And I want to add to that. Also, I wanted to add to that is if you can just go and talk about that also, how to harmonize our electoral processes. This is what worked, and I think you alluded to it earlier. This is what worked in Ghana. Let's see, can it work in Nigeria? Can it work in Burkina Faso? Can it work in Liberia? And so on and so forth. So can they come up with things for really harmonizing, whether it be diaspora, integrated diaspora program, harmonization of electoral processes and things like that?
Thank you very much. Very, very important question you are asking. I think in terms of actual activity in this area, I haven't seen much of that yet. I know that ECOWAS has, for instance, been trying to engage our diaspora in the area of investment promotion. And they are working with West African ambassadors in Washington in that regard. Except that I'm hoping that they will focus also on New York, which is the business and financial hub there. But the issue you just raised, it reminds me of my own experience, where one of the diasporans, a Guinean actually, young lady from Guinea, who said she wants to come and work in Nigeria. And I was explaining to her that in terms of our current platforms for such diaspora engagement, to work in government from another West African country, we have a long way to go. So this is where ECOWAS and AU officials, together with diplomats in our missions abroad, should be sensitized to begin to work together and come out with very innovative ideas as to how we can go across these lines and bring them in. It happened, as I said, with our forefathers. I mean, Kwame Nkrumah succeeded not just using Ghanaians. I mean, he used other West Africans, other Africans in the diaspora, including our partners, even our friends from the UK. I mean, as you recall, his personal assistant was a British lady and that kind of thing. So we need all the resources we can master in this case, given the level of our development, if we are supposed to be competing.
And especially digging into that ancestral diaspora that you mentioned, something really important to me that I've been talking about.
So we need to go beyond what we are doing now. And people like you, who in any case also have diaspora experience and have already come home, our institutions should have a way of outsourcing and tapping into consultancy expertise, in addition to the traditional system of convening public servants as a routine basis. Each time we want to consult on policy, then we bring in public servants who are very often jacks of all trades and experts of none, as we sometimes see in our system. So outsourcing as one of the strategies by our institutions is going to be key into the private sector, into think tanks and the media and things like that will be key. So the ECOWAS of peoples that our leaders decided on in 2007, we need to make sure that the decision-making process, that people outside of the traditional public service scheme are on the table in the build-up to and in the implementation. And I think that is one area that we need to do a lot more. And having said that, if I may chip this in, working on the area of diaspora, one of the sad things that one continues to see is this beautiful Mediterranean Sea, which is supposed to be a resource facility, not just for the Mediterranean countries, but for the entire world, building bridges between Africa and Europe and Asia, being converted into a graveyard.
I was afraid you were going to say
sad.
that.
And it is sad.
It is sad.
It is sad.
I knew
there's a lot more we could be doing.
And it's the truth.
Because every single country in this world has benefited from the aspect of migration and diaspora. And so we just need to manage it. But the amount of deaths we are getting is just unacceptable.
And that's why here we have in our company, we're looking to see how we can connect even communities at the community level as a way of supporting the integration. So instead of waiting for the governments to drill it down from the top, that perhaps there is a way that communities begin to link up. Perhaps even through the internet. They know each other. They know, they don't have tomatoes at this time. Maybe we need to get them tomatoes, as you just said. So and share ideas that way. But I want to, as we wind down here, Your Excellency, it's been wonderful. I want to just see if you have any final summary thoughts. Particularly as High Commissioner of Ghana in Nigeria, of how the role of Ghana in looking at the future now, looking down the road, whether we're going to have one currency in West Africa, We're going to have one political structure in West Africa.
Okay.
What do you see looking down the road, from a Ghanaian vantage point, for Africa, and then particularly even for West Africa?
Okay. Yeah, looking ahead, I think the blueprint has been laid out for us, Vision 2063 by the African Union under the current leadership, which takes us into Sankofa, our forefathers, the vision of Nkrumah and his peers, and trying to see, and of course tapping into the more recent leadership, which you contributed to the African Renaissance and agenda. The RECs are supposed to be building blocks of the continental, but there appears to be a certain uncomfortable amount of disconnect in terms of them being actual building blocks, and we need to address that. Efforts have been made, coordinating mechanism of CEOs of RECs have been created. Has it contributed concretely to that? I'm not so sure about it. I think sometimes we rely too much on the public sector and public servants, and we are not leveraging the private sector and civil society to be part of this thought process on how best to implement that. So moving forward, private sector and civil society organizations need to get engaged and demand their rightful place at the table, because the leadership have so decided, but the implementation appears to be left more to the public servants.
Your
so
Excellency,
that's the little I can say.
Your breadth of knowledge is extraordinary.
And,
this has been wonderful having you. We have to have you regularly here, because we have so many issues like this that I know that you can make very good contribution for. Yeah. We thank you so very much for coming. Thank you, Your Excellency.
Thank you so much. I mean, it has been a pleasure talking to you. And as I said, I have so much respect for you. I know what you've done, not just for Nigeria, but for Africa and the diaspora at large.
Thank you,
God bless.
It's been wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.